Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cuttle's Livestream. My name is Federico, and today what I prepared for you is I wanted to make a variation on the picture frames, maybe something a little bit simpler than what I've done in the past. The thing I wanted to use this time are these type of fastener. They have many names. I knew them as binding screws, but like here's the Wikipedia entry for them. They have a ton of names. I have a few of these. Kind of look like that. And so what I was thinking is that instead of making the picture frame like the one we've done in the past, like this one, I wanted to try and make something that was closer to these kind of floating picture frames where you have like two sheets of like clear material, probably acrylic, and then you can like kind of wedge things in between them, something like these. So I think that's the idea. I think the difference is that like you could use like less material. I have the version that we have on the Cuttle site has like multiple layers. So I have this one right here. So this one, I mean, I like this one for sure because it's like 3 layers, and then it includes the hanging hole. This is an early prototype, so the hanging hole looks like a little bit different than the one right now. And the way this one works is that the acrylic slides into this kind of sandwich of 3 wooden sections. So kind of like that. So it's neat, but I think if you are okay with the look of the bolts, I think that this could be an interesting one. So let's get started with the project itself. I think I want to start just by creating the hole component where like the binding screw is going to go. And in order to do that, I'm going to start by, by measuring the bolt. Like I need a hole through which this part of the bolt is going to go through. So let me set up my calipers. I'm going to measure it like that. So I get like 0.91 more or less. I think this is a good number. I don't need to be like more precise than that necessarily, because like it is nice to have a tight fit, but I think I can get away with like a good enough fit. Like there are 4 screws holding it, so I think that would be a very simple thing. So I just need a circle that's gonna be my hole. And maybe let's rename the project. I'm gonna call it the picture frame. And I want to be able to drive this because you might be choosing different bolts at some point or different hole sizes. So I think I'm gonna right off the bat create a parameter that I'm gonna call the hole size. And I measure that to be 0.191 inches. I'm gonna type inches and press enter. And then I just want to drive the size of this hole by changing the scale to hole size. So essentially that's kind of like a way in which I plug this value into here. So that means just to test that things are working, if I were to change the value here, you can see how the hole changes. Let's go back to my original value, and that's sufficient for the hole. And another thing I want to kind of keep in mind is the size of the head, because like I think it's going to affect aesthetically. It's going to affect the aesthetics of things. So I also want to measure the size of the head itself. This was just the barrel. And that's just going to be like a guide for me. So I'm going to measure it real quick. 0.377. So that's good enough. that's just so I get a sense of for what it looks like. So I'm going to create another circle, and I don't need a parameter for that right now. I'm just gonna 0.377. Let's give it like a slightly different color, so it just serves as a sort of preview. And so I think this is my hole. So now let's create the frame itself. As an example, as a sort of way of figuring things out, I'm gonna assume that I'm gonna be framing, this is just a post-it. It's a 3x3 inch post-it, kind of similar to these. So I'm just gonna use that as a reference. So let me create a new component. And just to figure things out, I'm gonna place a rectangle that's gonna be my post-it. And I'm just gonna make that 3 inches. And let's make it yellow. Make the fill yellow so it kind of resembles the post-it. So this is just for me to visualize things. So this is the part where, like, if we look at the previous one that we made, you'll see that it has a number of parameters. So we have the picture width, so that changes the width of the picture height. Then we have like a border, so is the border between the picture and the frame, and we call that the inside border. And then this is the frame width. So there are like multiple things to consider. So that's why I'm gonna start by creating the picture width and picture height parameters, kind of like separately. So I'm gonna call it picture width. That's good. I'm gonna start with 3 inches. And I'm gonna create another one called picture height. And that's also gonna be 3 inches. And I can reorder these parameters around. And so essentially what I want is this number to be driving the size of this kind of picture preview right now. So I just need to kind of plug it into here. So let me check. So the width is going to be this one, so that's picture width. And the height is going to be that one, so that's picture height. So now, just to check that things are working, if I picture height, yeah, picture width, let's make it more. Okay, so that's working. So let's go back to 3 inches and 3 inches. So nothing too special right now. So I think the idea that I have is I want to place, this is my binding post. So you'll see it has a hole. Then I have a little preview for the head. And so I want to be able to place 4 of those, like kind of a little offset from the corners of the picture. So something like these. So I can create that kind of sandwiching system. And the thing I really want to happen is that whenever I change the picture width like these, and the picture height, of course, then I want these holes to kind of follow, to like adapt to the dimensions. So let's start with a single one. And I'm gonna place it right on the center. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna place this one right here. And so let's start by kind of moving it using numbers. So let's see where this is located, like right here. So I need to move the position a bit to the left, like so, by a certain amount. And right now I can kind of guess what that amount is if I look at these. So you can see that it moved to the left, so it's negative, and if the picture width is 3, then this is half the picture width because I had it in the center. So I can kind of type that here. I can say, move it by the picture width divided by 2. So that moves it halfway over here. And now I want to move it up this way, something like that. So then I want to say, we'll go back to that. So I want to move it up this way. So that's going to be the picture height. So I want to say minus picture height divided by 2, because it's only half of it. So let's check that things are working. If I change the picture width, that hole follows. If I change the picture height, that hole follows. But of course, I want it to be a little bit off, like a little further than the corners of the picture. So I can actually create, I'm going to create another parameter to say how much off it is. A little comparable to like the way in which you created a parameter here for the inside border. I want to create that sort of offset that I can sort of plug in somewhere else. I'm going to create it. I'm going to call it the whole offset. Is that right? Yeah, let's put it over here. And let's say that's a 1/4 inch or 0.25 inches. So the way, this is a little bit, I'm getting like into spreadsheet territory in a way, but like, if I look at the expression here, this is the position of that hole. So I need to move it a little bit further by that offset. So in this case, I'm going to do minus, well, let me show you first. If I enter any number here, 0.2, you'll see how that number just now affects that position. So I'm moving it. So I know that that number just needs to be the offset that I just entered. So let's just call it the whole offset. So I moved it to the left. And now I need to move it up. So that is the Y position over here. So I'm going to say minus whole offset as well. So don't be intimidated by this whole thing, because I was trying to build it like kind of one step at a time. So sometimes honestly, sometimes I look at these things and I find them very confusing. I kind of have to like think about it myself, but like somehow it's easier to write them than it is to read them. Also, if you ever get confused by the plus or minus, I think sometimes I do too. So if plus doesn't work, like here it didn't work, then I just change it to minus because, it's kind of like change it to the sign that sort of make things work. But anyway, so now we have the offset. So you see if I change the offset, it just kind of moves diagonally. And then if I change the picture width and the picture height, it also follows. So I think that we're pretty much kind of done with, are we? Well, no, never mind. We're not done with like with all those parameters. But so now what I want is I want to place copies of this hole, like on the, here and then at the bottom. I suppose there are like two ways to do that. One way to do it is I can select it and then I can do mirror repeat. So a single mirror repeat will like copy one across this line in the center. And then a second one will mirror it vertically. I just need to, here I selected, I'm going to add a second mirror repeat. And so kind of like nothing happened. But if I go and grab this point, if I go and move this point about, am I moving the right one? Let me see. Yeah. So I'm kind of like mirroring it horizontally. So it's a little bit funny to follow. Like, one mirrors it to the right, one mirrors it down. I suppose another way to do it, let me see, I can delete that, is if I rotate it. So I can use the modifier here called rotational repeat. So as you can see, this one created 6 copies of it. I can create many more copies, starts looking like a circle. But if I create only 4 copies, let's see, 4, they also kind of get neatly placed in the corners at the same distance. So Hassan suggested in the comments that the rotational repeat works for me in this case. I think it's kind of nice. So I have the holes placed. Now I need a frame, the overall frame. And so that is going to be another rectangle. And for that second rectangle, I already have a bunch of numbers I can plug into it. So I can plug into its size. So let's see. Let's start plugging those in. I'm going to open here the scale. So we know that rectangle needs to be picture width by picture height at the very least. So now I got a rectangle that matches the picture. Then to that, I need to add, to expand it by the whole offset. So I can add whole offset times 2. The reason is that is the whole offset that it's here and here. So I need to multiply it by 2. So it just kind of covers the entire hole. So I'm going to multiply it by 2. Let me click back here. So as you can see now it matches the size of the hole. Is it? Yeah. What about using tile repeat? Yeah? Yeah, let me think about that for a moment. Actually, you're right. This isn't perfectly square. Okay, let me deal with the frame first. So I got the offset on the right, and then on the horizontal axis, and then the offset on the vertical axis. So whole offset times 2. So this should get me up to the centers of the holes. But yeah, I kind of messed those up. So with my rotational repeat. Huh, interesting. Okay, well, let me go back. I need to think about these. I'm gonna go back to the mirror repeat situation. I think that one gets me precisely where I want to be. Yeah. So now those holes are perfectly in the corners. If this is a good question in the chat. What if I were to use tile repeat? Let me try it. I think with tile repeat, what we need to do is enter those parameters. So if I do tile repeat, I would need to have 2 copies, 2 repetitions, and then the displacement needs to be a bunch of expressions. So it needs to be the picture width. So I'm kind of repeating the thing I was doing before by expanding the frame, plus the whole offset times 2. Yeah, that should work. So yeah, tile repeat should do the trick. So there are like a lot of ways to do it. I find the mirror repeat just more, I have to type fewer things. So I'm gonna stick with that one. And the final thing I need to do is I need to expand this frame a little bit past the holes themselves. So I'm gonna call that one the frame offset. Frame offset. I don't know. This is a lot of parameters, but like hopefully it kind of makes sense. I think there's like a lot of aesthetic considerations when you're framing things, and so that means to this whole long expression I have here, I need to add the frame offset. What I mean by that is the distance that the frame goes past this section here and this section here, and so that is going to be start with 1/2 inch. See what that looks like. So I need to add it there, plus frame offset, and plus frame offset. A little bit more, 0.6 inches. And I think it looks, I think these corners would look a little bit nicer if they were rounded. So I'm just gonna hit it with round corners. And that's good. I think at this point, I can actually just hide my kind of picture preview, and I can go ahead and create like a sort of cut component and then cut myself 2 of these. One thing I perhaps don't need is I can actually, from the hole, I can hide the preview I created there for seeing the hole, the head of the bolt. So here we go. I did cut a couple of those. So here they are out of acrylic, just clear acrylic. Some hair from my cat. And let's test it. Let's test it with a couple of bolts. So I have some of those here. Yeah. So the funny thing with these is that they do come in like different lengths for that section of the barrel. Here's like two lengths. But these seem to do well with 2 layers of acrylic. That seems sufficient. One downside that I was thinking when I was making these is that now, if I want to frame, I drew this like quick snake here. It's the year of the snake to try and frame it. So I don't have an easy way to center these right now. I suppose like I could make myself like a little template that goes under it, and then I could like, frame it like that. And then I can add my bolts. I think it's nice to have the flat section towards the front, because the other side of the bolt has a slotted head. So I think that's a quick frame, I think. Here you go. So the next thing I was thinking I could add is that like a sort of a way to tell me where to place the frame. So I think that's, now that I have all those parameters set up, I think that's probably simple enough, because I could have one component that I just called the front, and then I could have another component that I called the back. And then on the back component, what I can have is the front, but then I could have the, actually, the front could be red. Because when I cut it, I want the holes to be cut first. And then I just need a rectangle here that is the size of the picture. So I already created it. It's called picture width and picture height. I was gonna check everything's working. Yeah, that everything's working fine. And so one idea here is if I make these like a score, I could probably use it to line up my the thing that I'm trying to frame, and it doesn't have to be the same size. I can actually contract it a tiny bit. So I'm going to add this contract modifier by a tiny bit, like 0.1. That's probably fine, yeah, actually. Oh, is that too much? 0.01. Yeah, let's try that. So then now when I'm doing my cut, when I'm cutting, then I want to cut like a front and a back, something like these, which made me think I could actually create a variation of this frame where instead of 2 sheets of acrylic, I could actually cut like 1 sheet of acrylic and what of wood or MDF or something like that. And so my thought was something like this. I could get my little post-it snake. So I made these a little bit less than 3 inches. That way I can use it as a guide to place it. And then at the end, hopefully the picture hides those lines. But when I place it like so, I can still do my Chicago screws on it. So when it's mentioned, that's another one of the names for these. So I think that's valid. I think you could also do the score on the other sheet of acrylic. Oh, I trapped another cat hair in there. One thing I didn't love, once you frame these, then you're a little stuck with like how to hang it from the wall. So struggling here with screwing this guy on. One thought I had is, let me get the screw. I don't know, one possibility that I was thinking how to place it somewhere, if you don't mind buying more non-laser cuttable stuff, is magnets. I was noticing I had these like 10 millimeter magnets And these kind of match the head of these Chicago screws kind of nicely. So I don't know. That might be a way to like, place it on the fridge or something, because you need 4 of those. Oh wow, that matches like that. Another way of hanging it from the wall would be, I know that they make these sign standoffs. That's what I would look for, sign standoff screw. And the way these work is that these are literally meant for this kind of acrylic floating frame. So they have like a screw, like a mounting screw that goes like through these, and that mounts it to the wall. And then you put the cap on top of it. So it's different type of kind of fastener. And I know it's a little it's a little difficult to place it on the wall, but that's an option. I think they use it a lot for like office signs and things like that. So it's not strictly framing. I did have another idea for like a way to create like a hanger, which I can do in 4 minutes. Yeah, probably I can. So I was thinking, what if instead of what if I could have like an additional bar here to create like a spot for hanging it. The one thing I would need, because if I were to place something like completely flat here, it wouldn't give me a place for the screw or the nail to go into. So I need to create like a little spacer or something to lift it off from the back. And we can, because I can do something like this. I can create something called a spacer, and that's kind of literally the same hole for the screw plus the size of the head again. I'm just gonna create it here. That could literally just be, oh no, I don't need a circle. So I want the same hole, but I wanna apply an expand on it. And that kind of gets me to about the size of the head. And that also makes it so the whole size is still parametric. So the idea there with the spacer is that I can have, I can choose to have like a bigger, one here. Let me see. The downsides of assembling things live. I could have like a bigger one here, or a longer. Hassan also mentions that you could also cut a slot. Yeah. So anyway, this is the idea here. I could have a longer one, and then I can add a spacer. So the spacer I just created is like a little washer that fits right there. And then I can have my other piece. So for that other piece, noted, I also would have to have spacer for the others, for the rest of them. But what I was thinking for that other piece, what I could do is something like this. Let me create another component. So just to sketch it out, I'm gonna bring my my cut here. Let's put it down a little bit. And so what I want is like a line that matches these holes. Well, I need the hole. So I need first, let's go back here. So I need a hole that is placed based on the picture width. So let me adjust the position. So picture width divided by 2, because it's only half of it, plus the hole offset. So that places it right there. That makes sense. I could probably hide these right now. That could have like a mirror repeat. So now I have it on the other side. And now I need like a sort of line that goes in between the two of them. Oops, sorry. I just need 1 point and then another point. 2 points, 2 anchors. So, and I know I can drive those, I know I can drive those anchors based on the parameters I just created. So, okay, here we go. So we have a regular path, we have 2 anchors, And so one of them should be, I just need to type again, picture width divided by 2 plus whole offset. So that's one side. Then the other side is similar, just negative because it goes to the left. So it's picture width divided by 2 minus whole offset. And so that creates that line that if I were to change the picture width, then it kind of moves along with everything. That's kind of what I wanted. And to finish it off, I want to make it have some meat. So I'm going to use this outline stroke. That's just like a really quick way of creating something that is like cuttable. And I just make the width something like this. So that creates like a bar. And then now I just need to place, I don't know, a little hole here. And then subtract it from the bar. You'll see what I mean by that. So let's apply the difference. What did I do? I probably need to reorganize things here. Actually, you know what? I only want to apply the difference between these two. Yeah, there you go. So now that bar can go behind my picture frame here. So let me get one of these long ones. Ooh, I'm a half an hour, but I'll finish this one off to show you what. It's just an idea. I don't know if it's like great, but I was thinking it would be a quick way of creating like a. And I think these also only works if you have like an opaque backer. But here's the idea, and then we'll finish it off by screwing this one off. And of course, every time you cut these, you would have to have spacers down here as well. So that way, like I added the notching here, so like the nail or screw goes in there to create the hanging spot. Anyway, I think that was just like this was just like an idea I wanted to test with like by creating something. But of course, the whole my whole intention is that now you can sort of remix this in any way you want. I think that kind of gives you the basics. I think there are more possibilities of things to do here. For example, I think I've seen frames that have kind of interesting decorations. Like for example, you could create kind of non-rectangular frames that have like, I don't know, I'm thinking something like that. And then you could like say join it, and then you end up with like a frame that has like kind of additional things. You're not limited to the standard rectangle. You could add, for example, a literal frame on top of it. Like I'm thinking something that goes like right here to create this kind of effect where you have like a frame, and you still have the holes. I mean, that adds an additional layer, but that frame could have some decorations or something like that. So anyway, that was my intention, to just like give you a sort of starting point to get going with these. Cool. So I'll be publishing this video on YouTube later, and I'm also going to publish this kind of starter project with this like ton of parameters. And cool. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye.